get to movies, right? So let's start off with Cuties, way.
Good.
So I'll just do the intro and the synopsis, right?
Good.
So for me, I would not have watched the show at all because of this so-called controversy, right? Which in a nutshell involves partly the trailer for it for this movie here. This being a French film, right? A coming of age film, right?
Yeah.
But it was released actually on my birthday, September 9th on Netflix, right? You would not catch me watching that on my birthday, but just see it, right?
Good.
Um, but really, it was more the trailer and what it hinted at, or what it suggested, sorry, and the poster for it, right? So I'll get into what it's about in a bit, right? So yeah, I just heard a lot of people like, well, when the trailer and the poster came out, right? It's like, how could you, Netflix? How could you put out this filth, this
Right.
pedophilic filth and all that kind of stuff? And what are you trying to say? Are you trying to sexualize little girls and all that kind of stuff? And
Right.
even right now, at the time it's recorded here, apparently a lot of people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions because
Right.
they don't want anything to do with this filth. So
Right. Right. Right.
when you told me you had a rant, well, I have a feeling it's not gonna be as as bitter as it was, if we had recorded it last
Well,
week,
it's
right?
yeah. Well, it's as I say, you cool down a little bit, and then I heard. Well, I kind of mull it over in my head, so I'm not as angry about it, even though I'm still annoyed.
Right,
It's
right.
right. Right.
Yeah, but I have a feeling I know what it is, but I'll
Right.
let you have the floor once I do the synopsis, right? Yeah, so what is it about, right? It centers on a girl, right? 11-year-old girl, sorry, called Amy, right?
Yeah.
She's a Senegalese immigrant. She lives with a mom,
Right.
in Paris actually, right? In this apartment, right? She lives with her two younger brothers, and her dad actually is not living with them, and we learn later on that he is married to someone. Well, he's about to be married to someone else. Reason being is
Right.
that they are from a Muslim household, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of the nature of things, I guess, right? So she now kind of view she's kind of watching things play out, right? She's seeing how her mom is seriously affected by all this, right? But what that's kind of part of what the story is about, right? But the other part, though, the controversial part, involves her fascination now with this group of girls in her school, right? Called Cuties, right? It's basically four girls basically, right? Well, five girls technically, right? And they are getting up to win a dance competition, right? But the way they go it about it, it's primarily like they've just seen one too many, dance slash hip hop videos with girls, with adult women, of course, twerking and whatnot. I said adult women, haha, right? Twerking and being all
Right.
sexually suggestive. And they think this is the way that they have to go. So yeah,
Right.
they are pulling off these moves. They are being very sexual, you know what I mean, in terms of their dance and whatnot. And to them, it's just like, this is just the thing, you know what I mean? This is just what they do, and we like that kind of stuff, right? So Amy is drawn into this. Eventually, she becomes part of that group, and on the low, because her parents, well, sorry, her mom doesn't know this. She's practicing the dance moves. You know what I mean? She's dressing suggestively and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But what the show does very well now is that you see how it affects her life, because yeah, she has to deal with this conservative household that she lives under, and what I mean, she wants to be accepted basically, but yeah, at the same time, it's like to what expense? So like, yeah, she's stealing money, she's dressing all kind of way, people are looking at her like she's some kind of slut or whatnot. And the sad part about it though is that she's just 11, right? And her friends are pretty much around that same age as well. So it's really like how society, looking at them at the same time. So really, that's what the show is about, right? Just yeah, just this girl just really trying to figure out her path in life, right? You know what I mean? It's not like there's, and this is one thing that the show really stresses on that I feel a lot of people tend to ignore. It's not like there's any like real parental guidance, you know what I mean, for these kids, you know what I mean? And yeah, so that's pretty much, the situation that she's in right now, right? So, I mean, on the one hand, she has a family, they're very conservative, but at the same time, she has a friends, you know what I mean, who are very open, right? And, relying on internet culture and just just the world outside for them for guidance basically, and
Right.
it's just really about Amy just trying to find her way, and that's what it is. But before I get to my thoughts on Cuties, Ricardo, thoughts on Cuties?
Right. No. So, yeah. So it's more the hoopla around the film that the film itself. We want the hoopla and noise about that, and then review first.
Start with the hoopla first and then
Yeah,
review.
hoopla. Right. Yeah, you talk about the nonsense. All right. So what happens at I forget. I don't know if I pronounce it properly, but Mignon is the French film. This was the I think is Cannes or thing it won a little award in
It was
Sun
in Sundance. It was in Sundance, I think.
Sundance,
Right.
right? So French film. The director is this French Senegalese woman. Is basically based on her life
Hmm.
and the big So before I'll start, I'll say let me attack. At least bullshitters like to use this term a lot. Steel man, which is trying to prop up what the people who are against this film trying to say. Firstly, the uh the film actually used underage, actors, right? So the
Yes.
minors, right? It is not, and then secondly, because the camera does a lot of layering itself,
It,
so
it, it does. It does. Yeah.
it does.
It's the
So
meal geese as
right, 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 right,
as film news like to call it. Though.
right, and so I'll say it does. So from a filmmaking perspective, it does. But my thing is that, and then it's one of those cases of intentions not lining up so well intentions not lining up with things so well now, with execution, right?
Right.
So the big sticking point is that now here's the thing, the big sticking point is the actors themselves being underage, so that could be problematic. But so here's my question: let's just say that they somehow got adult actresses who looked like 11-year-olds to do the exact same thing. Would people have
Hmm.
made the same amount of noise in the same way, right? Because a big part of the argument, but I only noticed this argument show up later, that
Right.
that the girls themselves have been exploited by the filmmaker, and the filmmaker really made a error in that sense now by showing them in this light and having it kind of look thing. And how I think about it now, again, it's clearly the intention of the filmmaker to make this idea of making you feel uncomfortable. But it had a quote unquote backfire effect in that sense, and one of the kind of right winger type meme groups made the point, what if you actually kill animals to show that you shouldn't kill animals, right? Or harm animals
I see. I see. I see.
in a show, right? Right, exactly. It's that, right? It's that same thing, And I kind of understand the argument there. However, most of the critique is a sort of bad faith bullshit. And again, even if you make a good point, but you're coming from bad faith, I'm a person who believes in intentionality, and it's hard for me to take these people seriously because the noise they make amongst it was a sort of bullshit about people who didn't watch the film but making noise about it and saying they canceling Netflix. And if you
Yeah.
say you're not gonna watch a movie, I don't really care. And all these assholes who saying things like context be damn and thing, well, you're deliberately putting yourself out of the conversation but want to be part of the conversation at the same time. I have zero patience for that foolishness. So that's my take on that with respect to the hoopla. And that's pretty much it there. We could compare it to a bunch of other films that did the same thing. Brooke Shields was a movie that Brooke Shields was in back in the days.
Not the Blue Lagoon, right?
No,
No.
before that, she was a kid.
I think it's Pretty Baby. I think it is.
One of them, right, right. And
Yeah,
then
which I never saw, but I heard the controversy behind it.
right, yeah, and you
Uh,
can make
being like I think she was like 11 or 12 or something like that. She
exactly,
was very very young, but she was involved in
right,
like some sexual situations in that
right,
film
exactly.
or something like that. Right.
And then you could say, what do you call it? I think Jodie Foster, Taxi Driver. Who was in Taxi Driver again?
Yeah, it
Uh,
was Judy. But
right,
it was
right,
just her playing a
right,
prostitute,
right,
right? A 12-year-old
right,
prostitute. Yeah.
right. Exactly, it's the same thing. So the question is, if the debate is boiled down to this, and I think there is a legitimate nuance argument here of where you think the director crossed the line by having them do this and having the camera lay at them in that way. And because the director kind of straddled and crossed that line, unfortunately, I would argue that um, I understand why people would be thinking that because in a sense you're kind of crossing it. Not to say that characters went, like she went full sex with it or the characters went nude or anything like that. It's not, we didn't see any of that. But
No, no, no.
the camera was yeah, up in them, right? The camera was real, but that was intentional.
It
And
was. It
when
was.
they
Yeah.
watch the
I
film,
I
and
picked up on it too.
yeah, when they watch the film does the whole if you remember the ending of the film is Sunshine, right?
Oh yes, yes, yes.
It
Yeah.
does that play of characters when they see what going on here is like, oh, their reactions is really bad. Again, when you
Yeah,
watch the
but
movie,
it's not in a comical, goofy way like
no,
that film.
nothing like
That's
yeah, like
nothing
this is
like
not
that. Yeah.
right. This is not cute at all. It clearly is a commentary thing, and we could get into that debate about if it's art and commentary and if how clumsy that is. I felt it mostly worked in that sense, right?
Mhm.
That's where I land with that, right? And that's pretty much the ending of that. But here's the problem. Again, you have all of these again bad faith and then outright malevolent agents, like if you know what QAnon is and all these morons who are going out to their way to like make a bigger deal out of it than it is. And again, seriously, whose idea was it to make that poster, the original poster, to piss people off in this way? Wow, that is where you call a bad feeling. I would have been pissed off if I was that director, Dread.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't understand why they can just take the original poster and just make that into English. Like, why they had to
Yeah.
do that poster? That poster is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know. And even if you want to make the argument that no, we're trying to show just how wrong it all is.
right.
Come
Yeah,
on. Like
it's a
look
bad
at it,
call.
man. Like look at it. Yeah, it's a bad
Uh,
call.
But but the thing is, the film does it as well. So I don't know. Again, it's one of these hard straddling lines where high wire acts that they're trying to play, and it don't really work out so well. So unfortunately, it doesn't.
I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that. But
Right,
yeah.
right, and that's just what it is. And but again, it's a sort of bad faith bullshitters who trying to harass people who critiquing. Again, I was more angry on Sunday. So if you talk about this on Sunday, you'd get more to. I don't remember all the bullshit, but I don't remember all the bullshit. No, it kind of scrape out of my mind because it's like that stuff just unhealthy to just remember, right? So
Yeah.
um, if I understand like a bunch of what do you call them critics were being harassed for reviewing the movie, and it brings in all of this dumb arguments about you're normalizing pedophilia as you mentioned before and all this nonsense. Like, no, that's not what it is. Be an adult in the whole situation. But there I will at least concede there can be some nuance in the argument here, right? I've not seen much nuance on one side of the discussion, but it can exist. And that is kind of my take on that there. What is interesting and surprising that we don't see this for films that to me was clearly like romanticizing and promoting, say, pederasty, for example, and nobody make noise about it. And it had an Oscar award winning, well, sorry, Oscar nominated film that did that. That was Call Me by Your Name, right? Which I think is a good film.
It
Uh,
is.
but that's the story.
Yeah,
That was the story.
it's a grown man and
Yeah,
a teenage kid, right? A
right.
teenage boy,
But
right?
then,
Yeah.
yeah, and again, this is one of these weird arguments that I've
Well, sorry
seen.
to cut you, and yet that is renowned, regarded as one of the best romantic movies of the
Right.
past decade, right?
And
I mean,
none of these people, and this is even when the conspiracy theory about Pizzagate and all this thing was flaring up years ago. None of these people made noise about that. And I find that so weird now. Whatever. As I'll say, when you're making these points, the big sticking point I've seen people fall back on is that, well, even though Timothy Chalamet character was um he was underage, uh the character was underage, he himself was not underage. So again,
right,
I would have,
right.
but to me that's an argument that come in late after the fact, right?
Hmm.
Um and then there's another aspect of it I see as well, like another movie that also had this same paradigm to it, which is what do you call it? Bluesy Woman's Color, right? Now that
Oh
film,
yes, 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 yes.
that film had been poisoned by actual, like, from what I understand, quite, it was somewhat abusive on set in terms of what the actors wanted to do and what they didn't want to do. But again, it was all adults that
Yeah,
had no actual children on set and whatnot. So we could get into that debate. That's where it stays fuzzy. But anyway, I suppose we could get into the review itself, and my take on the film.
yeah,
I thought the movie was fine, right? I thought it's a typical film festival movie. So it suffers from that same, doesn't really have the strongest arc. It's more second cinema approach to the arcs, where it doesn't really complete itself and just kind of wraps up really quickly in its own way. And again, it's a
mhm.
French film, so I suppose that's kind of given at this point. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I guess so. You
in
know.
terms of its in terms of, like, that's little technical stuff, it was competent, just fine. Like they didn't really do anything special with cinematography or anything like that. Some people say it should have been a documentary, but okay, that,
No, no,
no,
no,
whatever. Yeah,
no.
that tell a
Yeah,
story. It's her story because the story reflects her life, right? Um, and I don't know. The way boiling on to is that it have a bunch of people who just straight up uncomfortable with it, and they like kind of don't want to admit that. And then other people who just outright grossed out by it because like the way how the film is shot and done is like, oh, this is just a way to like filter out real pedophiles or at least people who have some kind of pedophilic addiction, predilection. Because that was kind of cracking me up about it, right?
right.
Somebody made a joke about that, right? It's like, okay, the movie is not promoting pedophilia, but like you gotta watch people who keep, keep watching the film at
Yeah, and
in 10
probably
minutes intervals.
supporting it a lot.
Right. Oh, no,
Actually.
but keep repeating the film and rewinding and fast forwarding on Netflix in certain 10 minutes.
Oh,
That's a joke.
okay. I
That's a
see.
joke,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And right, so it's that, right? Because for me the film felt legitimately uncomfortable where the camera was. But you gotta tell yourself, is it because the actresses are underage or because of the characterization? And it's kind of both. And that's why he didn't really do a good job of addressing that. And again, his intentions versus execution. It meant to make you uncomfortable. I agree with this. This film is not meant for this film is for I would argue it's for parents, right?
Yeah.
If you're a parent of a girl who's young and you have a young daughter like under 10, and she coming up in the world, it's that. But then what the film does, it does an interesting class dynamic because it's France. And they have this whole race and class dynamic in France with respect to Islam and whatnot. And it does the whole double play on it to saying, well, no, the conservative culture is worse, right, in some ways, right? Both sides are bad, right? It does a both
Mhm.
sides kind of thing with the argument and says she now, in her perspective and her journey, has to make the case. That's it. So that's that. And I suppose that's enough from a review, which it is. After that, I'll give him a rating after you say a piece, right?
All right. Let me share my thoughts on
Yeah,
Cuties,
time,
man. Like,
yeah, time for your down votes on YouTube,
whew.
right?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
downvotes galore, man. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And let's just to start off with that, right? So here's the thing, right? At first glance, when it comes to any piece, any content, right? It could be whatever, right? You know what I mean?
right,
Somebody could just look at something at first glance, make the assumption of it, and decide, okay, I just want to see some bad, or I'm just gonna scroll past it 'cause it means nothing to me, right? So whatever you got, sorry, from that first trailer and the poster from, for this movie here, you got that, right? I only saw the poster. Admittedly, I didn't watch the trailer till after I saw the film, right? Because I was like, oh, you know, it just didn't bother me until the whole backlash with the poster. Then I saw the poster for myself. I was like,
right.
okay, you know, but I saw the
Yeah, yeah.
trailer afterwards. I was like, all right, okay, I
This is
see
one of
where the
those.
argument come from.
Yeah, no, it's one of those cases. Again, I ain't no big conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but it's one of those cases of you're wondering if it's like a double switch marketing kind of vibe going down, right? Like
Yeah,
I would have never, much like with a lot of these shows, if it wasn't for the reactionary culture, I would have never know about it, right? Case in
right.
point, Shira. Case in point, Shira. I'd have never know about Shira, the Shira TV show, if it wasn't for um people making noise about Shira, right? And so,
Oh, okay. Why she don't
Shira,
look like how she did in the old show,
right?
right?
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
that bullshit, right?
yeah. People was like, that's the whole noise about Shira as a man now and all that bullshit. I'm like, what? And then I decided to actually give the show a shot, and I ended up enjoying it. But
Yeah,
I will concede it's the same thing with this show. The only reason that I would have been aware of the show is because of the noise. If
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the
so you're not
unfortunate
sure
side of it. Yeah,
if you're not sure so you're not sure if that level of cynicism is at play here, right?
yeah.
And so that's how I feel about it because I would have never know about it. It would be just another typical kind of global South show, and I probably watch it anyway because I give like any African director a chance. It's like, hey, this African female director, she's from Senegal. She do this movie much like how we give this movie Atlantics, a
Yes,
chance.
from last year. Yeah,
Exactly. Right. Same thing. Right.
yeah.
I would be like, oh, it have a show called Mignon. Gonna never. But I'm not sure if what's going on here. If the film would have been as hot or as popular if it wasn't for the controversy, right? So we don't know.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
that
Yeah. Go
that
ahead.
that that's really a question that is will be pondered on for months to come, right?
Right.
But just to get this out of the way, folks, no, this is not the most controversial film ever made or
Right.
of this year. It is not. It is far from it, right? And I myself went in kind of worrying that okay, this is going to draw the line. This is gonna step out of its boundaries too much
Right.
and whatnot. But really, what keeps this show centered and what I really dug the most out of this is the story, right? Well, the way how it's told, I'll get to that in a bit, but the story
Yeah.
itself, the heart of it, I think really works so. And just from the word go, when you introduce to Amy, you see her situation with her family, her what to do right by her mom, but then and okay, so one thing I really, really loved about the story here is the mom herself, her predicament, right? I love the fact
Right.
that her husband is getting married to somebody else and how she would feel in this, right? Should she just accept it because, she's part of the Muslim faith, or just, be like, well, I'm not going to say what she does, right? But at the same time, it's like, yeah, look at the way how she carries herself. Like, no, she hates this, right? But look at how she carries herself.
Right.
And it's really how long it takes for Amy to understand that, right? It's just really the
Right.
way how she has to kind of accept that this is a reality for women, but it's how her mom goes about this, right? And that's one aspect about the show I love. I would say there's one particular shot involving the two of them, right? In the same shot, right?
Yeah.
And to me, that just kind of summed up the whole film for me. It's just like, look at what your mom doing. You know what I mean? This is what you should be doing. I love that, right? But I do appreciate the fact that Amy had to, well, unfortunately, she had to figure things out on her own, right? But she does figure things out, right? I'm not gonna spoil anything beyond that, right? But I just love the fact that it's about her and her kind of figuring this situation out, right? Hence the coming of age thing, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean it's understandable in the way how it all plays out. You know what I mean? Her meeting these group of girls and they're dancing. I mean they look good. They have makeup on and whatnot, and they dancing and stuff. But just right off the bat, okay, why are they they dancing so suggestively, right?
Right.
And just a little segue here for a bit, right? The timing of this new release of the show on Netflix couldn't have been better, Dread, because just about a month ago, weren't we all talking about that WAP video?
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah, weren't we all talking about, oh, look at
Yeah.
these two rappers, you know what I mean? Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. I mean,
Right.
talking about, they're wet as pussies, and oh my god, how could they say this? Ah, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, I don't know where you were, Ricardo, but like, I just watched your video once, I was like, yeah, cool. Megan look fine as hell. You know
Respect.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
Megan. I mean, but it's not a video I'll go back to. It's certainly
Right.
not a song I will go back to, right?
Right.
But I got the gist of it. It's to sell records. I mean, sex sells, right? That's the whole point of it, right? Nothing more, nothing less. They own their bodies, they own their sexuality, so they could do that kind of shit, right? The inclusion of Kylie Jenner, on the other hand, is like, why? I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
the what? But anyway, right? Enough of the WAP video, right? But it's just so funny that this movie will come out like about a month afterwards,
Right.
and kind of touch pretty much on the same things. We're both in the
Yeah.
movie and outside of it, right? So in the movie, really, what the director is addressing is, well, the influence of those videos of
Yeah.
hyper sexualization in today's media, and how, well, and it's something that, like, I'm not a parent, but I'd imagine if I was a parent, I'd be worried as hell about, if I had a daughter, of course. um like, what would her reaction be if she saw that WAP video, right? If I had a daughter right now, I mean, how would she feel
Yeah.
if she saw that? Like, I can't come up to her and be like, okay, there's a video right now, you know what I mean, it's from these two artists. I don't want you to watch it because it does this, right? What's to say? Who's to say that she doesn't go to her own school and somebody show her that on she phone and she
Exactly.
gets
Yeah.
ideas, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's some,
And
in
it's
other
yeah.
words, yeah, go on, go on.
Yeah, it's a classic, and it's a classic kind of debate in child rearing, right? Again, we too arbitrary dudes who single, talking about children, right? But
Yeah, wait, we
the,
two
the
hardback man who ain't
right,
know nothing, right? Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. But but the one of the big sticking points about children is the whole influence on children, parents versus peers, right?
Yes.
Um, and from what I understand, peers seem to win out, like especially at a
Like, no,
certain age.
it's obvious. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
matter what period it is, or
yeah,
what what genre of music you like, or whatever it is, whatever influence it is. Yeah, peers are gonna win over parents. Like, duh, you know what I mean? It's just like in our case, you know what I mean? We well, I don't want to say it's different for for meals, right? But yeah, we are influenced by these things as well, right? It's just that like in my case personally, my parents didn't come to me and tell me all these things, right? But I just had to kind of figure things out like that. But
Right.
that's what I love about the show here, you know what I mean? Zeroing in, and especially the fact that she is 11 years old, right?
Right.
There are no parental, there's no parents really telling her about these things because one, they don't know, and two, they're kind of busy with other things, which is understandable. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, look at what's going on, right? It's really right on your nose. So I just really dug how brave and bold the show was to address these things without really going up in your face and demonizing everything. So
Right.
one thing I really dug is that the show does not demonize video vixens. That's saying that no, don't do that. That's wrong. And it's the male gaze, and men are gonna look at you in a perverted sexual way. No, that's not
Right.
what it's saying. It's like if you're adult, you're a
Well,
woman,
the film,
you
does
understand how your body works, and you know
right.
what you want out of this. You know what I mean? If it's just money, let's be real,
Right.
fine.
Well,
But
the film
look,
does
but
not.
think about, however, the one thing. Just think about who's watching your video. That's
Right.
really it. Who's watching your video? It's not just grown ass men and women, but also little kids who
Right.
mean it. Who looking up to the artists who make the video, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, the film doesn't really land on an answer at all. It doesn't try
No,
to.
no, no.
And
I love
you
that
could
too.
argue if that's like in itself kind of like, oh, if you're not providing an answer, was the point kind of attitude. I know some people made that complaint. Yeah, I prefer the unclear, you make up your mind aspect to
Same here.
something. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
right. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. But
yeah,
it does go even further because of the dimensionality of it is different simply because of social media. So we live in this Instagram culture, right? Yes, but
yeah.
again,
TikTok and well,
right.
TikTok
So
still exists, kind of. Well,
yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
well, I mean, like on the verge of being banned. That's what I mean. Yeah,
Right, whatever. But the point is the whole Instagram, everybody comparing yourself to what social media does to people, blah blah blah, and that paradigm, applies to girls. Again, there is a gender disparity aspect to this, obviously. Like they're not even close. Like I, don't need to like pop any pictures on Facebook. I don't give a shit. I'll
I'll just
pop,
put stuff that matter to me. Joe. Like
right.
you don't need to see me shirtless in front of a mirror with a phone in my hand. That's not how I roll, Joe, you know.
Right, but but you'll see any little picture. I'm not the kind of person I'll think, but then again, I'm already an adult. Sorry to say it.
Yes, yes.
I am halfway to the grave, right? So I don't have to think about it the same way. Whilst a person who I have no that's the problem. I have no way I could like tell somebody who's not even a teenager yet how to navigate this today's world, right? Yeah, I can't tell them. Because you can't tell them on the one end, well, avoid it entirely and, be stoic and read, Kierkegaard or some shit like that, right? That is like useless information for somebody at that age.
Yeah,
Especially a girl. So I don't know how they'll make sense of it in that sense. And the movie does a great job with that, especially with her character being from such a conservative background, right? And they
yes.
make that juxtaposition work really, really well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. They
yeah, go
they
ahead.
did. They
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Also, well, okay, so just to touch on the show, I thought that the performances were strong throughout.
right. Yeah,
The child actors themselves, the young actresses, I thought that they
yeah,
nailed
they,
it.
they were good. Yeah, they were
The
fine.
girl who
Yeah,
played Angelica, she was great as well, as just
right,
like you could see her as this, de facto leader of of the cuties and whatnot. You could see
yeah,
why they would rule with her, because yeah, she light skinned and she cute, right? So just saying, right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah, but just her little backstory that they give her, this negligent older brother, her parents
right,
not even around or even caring about her. It's
right,
just enough for you to to get it just right. And compared to like an American film now, what I mean, you'll have to show you some big poignant moment involving some argument with the parents, and then the kid
right,
runs out, right? All we just get is just some arguments, you know what I mean, and then she runs outside and goes into Amy's apartment, and that's really all we need. And I love that, right?
right,
And it's kind of funny. This movie is a French film, because yeah, they do get away with the art stuff, the arty stuff, I would say, but
right.
more the provocateur kind of stuff. Okay, yeah, this movie is provocative, like throughout though. That's the subject matter, the way how it's addressed and whatnot. So yeah, they, you know what I mean. So I could tell, like, the director herself, she kind of get away with certain aspects of the show because
Right.
it's a foreign film, it's an art film. You know what I mean? And yeah,
Right.
primarily it is art, and isn't art meant to be judged, right? And discuss and whatnot. And just touch on what you said, Ricardo. You know what I mean? It's a movie for parents. I totally agree. This is a movie for
Yeah.
parents and adults in general, not just to watch and criticize, but really to discuss though, because yeah, it's really a serious issue that people you don't really see films address that, with the exception of just stuff like that probably came out in the states, like 13, for example. I never
Yeah.
saw it, but I heard issues about it, right? But yeah, I never really saw this issue, especially in this era, right? With Gen Z, sorry,
Yeah.
address or express in this way. So yeah, I thought that the director herself, I'm really not gonna try to pronounce her name. I don't want to say she had balls, but yeah, she really
Yeah.
had guts to make this film. Though you could tell that
Yeah.
she put
Yeah.
a lot into it, right? So here, now let's talk briefly about the camera work, right? Yes, admittedly, the camera
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
is designed in such a way that it's
Yeah.
supposed to, emphasize the male gaze, right? So they're focusing
Right.
on hips, they're focusing on, gyrations
Yeah.
and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right? But to me, I saw that as all intentional. It
Right.
is designed to make you feel uneasy. It is.
Yeah.
But in no way is this like exploitation or like the worst thing ever or some blasphemous kind of thing, right? Like, if, like, God forbid, if they were like nude or what, like, okay, ring the bell, what I mean, bring
Right.
out the torches and pitchforks, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But because, and like, a majority of those scenes are set to music as well, some really dope music, by the way, some dancehall EDMs kind of music, but the type of music that you would imagine these girls would be dancing to, regardless, right? Yeah, I thought it would do, but point is, for some people, I know that they will watch this and be like, no, I can't watch this. This is too much, right? But yes, it's done intentionally. It's done for a purpose. It's done to provoke. It's thought provoking. That's what it is. But yes, I could see some people kind of watching those moments and saying, all right, you're going a little too far here. Okay, this is too much. All right. But
Right.
to me, that's the point, right? So it's either you kind of get because it's trying to make a point, or you just, you know, chastise it immediately because, oh, it's underage girls doing that, right? Now, as far as the story goes, I felt that there were a couple of conveniences in it. Like, things will just kind of happen at just the right time for the story to move forward, or for Amy to understand something. Like, case in point, the climax. Like, this thing happens at this particular point, and then she understands this at just the right time, right? But you think it would happen either before or after the big, big event that is hyped up in the show. But it
Right.
just kind of happens at just the right time, and that happens periodically in the show. Like, things will just kind of happen just at that moment. Like, you could tell it's like, okay, like, it's kind of like the script kind of bleeding out of the film. So it's like, okay, well, we just kind of need this in order for for the story to move forward. So, that's a little minor gripe with that, right? Also, too, there are some art film moments in it.
Yeah.
One in particular which kind of threw me off course, actually, because I was just kind of watching this and I was like, I'm not gonna say what it is, right? But it's like, all right, I get what it is you're trying to say, and, well, without spoiling it, is really the two worlds clashing together, right? The
Right.
world of this conservative religion, and her character, Amy's character, just wanting to express herself and dance, right? And it's one of those moments where, like, I would just love to see some sort of analysis of, like, not just the whole show, but just that one scene in particular, because you could argue, I mean, with African dance, that's kind of part of it, right? Just
Right.
that sort of gyration and the way how it's
Yeah.
filmed and the context of it. It's almost like, like if you're watching some sort of Shango ceremony, you know what I mean? It has that kind of
Right.
feel to it, but it caught me completely by surprise. It it didn't take me out of the show, but I was like, okay, you're leaning a little too much to the arty side here, but I get where they're coming from, right? But I felt it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, we could kind of let these African-based dance ceremonies and stuff like that slide, but yet still you will be pissed off seeing the same person dressed in a kind of way, twerking and whatnot. So is that kind of uneven, unnervingness of that scene though that I'd love to see somebody really tackle though. But I thought that was like a really powerful moment.
Right.
Also though, I love how the character just devolves actually, right? Because you would think, like, you know what I mean, and this is me kind of going in blind. I was worried that this was going to be kind of like female empowerment, but it's like nope.
Yeah.
I know you may think female empowerment when it comes to these girls dancing, but that's not what we touched on here. And you really see just how her character just devolves though. It just gets dark. You know what I mean? She there's a lot of like backbiting amongst each other. You know what I mean? They will be
Yeah. Yeah.
friends one day, they will fight each other the next day. She's stealing money from her mom to buy clothes and all that kind of stuff. There's
Right.
even a really uncomfortable moment involving a phone, you know what I mean, and the owner of the phone, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But the moment that catch me though, it had me laughing though. But at the same time, I was like, wow, that's real cutthroat though. Is her pretty much confronting a former member, well, sorry, I should say, an on again, off again member of Cuties though. And what
Right.
she does though, like, it's funny, but at the same time, it's like, God damn though, like, wow,
Yeah.
like, that's how far we go with this though. But I just love how quick it is. You know what I mean? It doesn't linger on these scenes for too long. 'Cause I mean, it shows like what, like 95 minutes, right? So it covers a lot of ground surprisingly in a short space of time, but doesn't linger too much on on a lot of things, right? Which I love. But yeah, I mean the show isn't perfect, mind you, right? And yeah, it does ride this very, very, very delicate line between okay, we're really trying to tell something here. Um, it's kind of balancing between that and okay, we really want to put this all up in your face for you to really understand what it is we're trying to say here. So
Yeah.
it's subtle at times, but other times it's not as subtle, right? So yeah. But really and truly, I think the show is just kind of designed for people to just think about it, to analyze it, to discuss amongst other people with it, not just watch it and think it's smut or porn
Yeah.
or pedophilic material. And just to see this out of the way, if you are a pedophile and you plan on watching the show, expecting to get some kicks off of this, or you're listening to this review here, expecting me to say, "Oh, it's great, go and see it." Fuck you, because it's not about that. Sorry.
Right.
But just to get that out of the way. But yeah, this is like just to get to my final thoughts and read, right? So while for me it's not the best show I've seen for the year, this is easily one of the most thought-provoking movies I've seen for 2020. This is one that's gonna be brought up by year's end. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are gonna eventually warm up to it and really gonna call this one of the best of the year. I see some critics actually giving it 4 stars and stuff already. This for me will be like an honorable mention, but this is one that I really don't want to forget. Will I watch this again? Probably not in a hurry. Maybe at year's end, so I could say it's one of the best, maybe. But
Right.
I do strongly recommend that you watch it. Don't give in to the controversy and it's bad and all that kind of stuff. No, 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 it's not. Even from the word go, how it's set up, like it's not meant to really exploit these kids and whatnot, but it shows just how easy they could be exploited in the real world, right? So I just really dug how brave and bold the show was to address something like that. You don't see stuff like that every day, right? Now I know for some people they will just look at the trailer, look at the poster, and say no, 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 I don't want to see it, right? So if you really, really, really deep down don't care to see this at all, or you just think it's just boring, then it's not for you. It's clearly not for you, right? But
Right.
if you just want something if you just want to see what the big deal is, but not just watch it and then they say, okay, I saw it, hated it, move on.
Right.
No, it has to be something that you I don't know, like put up a Twitter rant or talk about it on Facebook or something like that. But discuss it man, before you go out and just see this big thing condemning the film or the director or whatnot. Because yeah, there's a lot of effort put into this. There's a lot of like the show does a lot and says a lot, though, and I really, I can't praise this film high enough for it. Right?
Right.
It's not perfect as far as the storytelling goes, but you know what I mean, for what it's telling, I think it's something that needs to be told, especially in these times here. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, I can't knock the directors down for trying to tell something like that because yeah it's one of those things that we know exists but we don't like to bring it up or we don't really want to address it at all, right? So with that being said, I think I ramble on enough. I will give this a lighter, decent 4 out of 5, man. I really do
Okay.
think that you should seek this out. You really should give this a look. And like I say, don't just watch it and just dismiss it afterwards and say, "Oh, it's smut and it's showing kids sexual and all that kind of stuff." No, no, no. It's for you to think about, to sit down and really think about, and really, like if you are a parent, for example, really kind of figure out, okay, where do I stand in this? Where are my kids in all of this, right? And
Right.
last I want to say before I get to your final thoughts on rating, I really do love the fact that, as you said, what I mean, it just leaves things out there. It's not like telling you this is what you need to do, right? Because I mean, it's not like you could just simply just wipe it all away or just delete videos or whatnot. That's not how you solve the problem. It's really
Right.
your interaction with your kids and whatnot, right? And that's really the solution. I love that the film doesn't tell you that's what they have to do, right? It's, you have to figure it out for yourself. Use your little brain and figure it out, right? And as far as the coming of age story goes, yeah, I think it is a solid one. I really dug the way how Amy's arc went to where it ends, though, which is artsy, but I get the gist of it, right? And just seeing what she had to
Yeah.
go through to learn that lesson, I dug that. So yeah, ignore the controversy for a while, check it out for yourself, and then decide whether it's for you or not. So
Right.
Ricardo, final words and rating.
Yeah. You pretty much cover everything I was about to say. As I said, if it was on Sunday, it would be more rantish because I was just so annoyed at the kind of bad faith bullshit that we was getting from this. Some is clearly like a lot of it is some trying to make it out as if, well, normalizing pedophilia by watching this movie. And it's like, fuck all that, guys. Seriously, this is
You know?
ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. For me, 7 out of 10. I thought it didn't wrap up its arc as well as it could have, but what it was trying to say and do was pretty important and interesting, and it was ultimately, yeah, a pretty solid film for me. So that's just me. Yeah.
Yeah. My last thing. I have a feeling if
Yeah.
anybody is gonna put this out on home media, it will be Criterion Collection. This
Right.
because it's French and it's provocative and it was on Netflix, right? Like yeah, Criterion's very much into provocative stuff here. But yeah, like I said, don't let the backlash deter you from watching it. Check it out for yourself. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the most controversial movie in the world. Your eyes won't bleed after you see it. You will feel uncomfortable at times, but like unless you seriously have some dark shit inside of you, it's not like you'll be questioning your manhood, your
Right.
womanhood after seeing it, right? But it's just for you to think about, to analyze. It's thought provoking. That's what it is, right? And yeah, I mean, in 2020, we kind of need stuff like this anyway. So yeah, shout out to, let me try and get the name right. Mimona Dokuri. If I got the name wrong, please forgive me. Yeah.
Right.
And this is a debut dread. I mean, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. There's a lot of controversy behind it, but I hope that that's not gonna stop her from making more films. It may not be as challenging as this one here, but I really want to see what she does, right? How she explores, the African diaspora, what I mean,
Right.
in Europe and all that. So yeah, it's on Netflix, folks. Give it a look, give it a chance. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie, right? It's not bad, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.